This is the Our Auto Expert Podcast. Find us on air, online, on mobile, and on your smart speaker. Please subscribe at ourautoexpert.com.
Our Auto Expert. Our Auto Expert. Our Auto Expert. Our Auto Expert.
Now, here's the host of Our Auto Expert,
Our Auto Expert,
Nick Miles.
Locally created, nationally celebrated, all the way from the northeast to the southwest. This is America's Car Radio Show. If it has a throttle, we'll feature it on air, online, on smart speaker, or on smartphone. This is Our Auto Expert, where 2 million Americans get their automotive news daily. I'm your host, Nick Miles, along with truck girl Jen. So we got to drive the CT5 in today, which is Cadillac's brand new sedan. Goes up against the BMW 5 Series, the E-Class from Mercedes Benz, and the Audi A6. It's really nice.
Comfortable.
Surprise! Cadillac have always been a good brand. They got cars and SUVs which are my favorite, some which are, some which aren't. This definitely making the list. Unfortunately, the one I got, and I'm not a big fan of black, white, silver, or gray.
No
but
kidding.
It's silver.
You like bright colors.
I saw a friend of mine has a dark forest green colored one.
Yeah?
Whoa.
Pretty?
Looks so nice. They did a really good job. It's interesting. Yesterday, I had my hair cut at a place in Vancouver, Washington called Beige Blonde. And Brett, who works at Beige Blonde, I said, you want to come and see your next car? Because he buys cars. I recommended an Infiniti to him probably about 15 years ago. He bought it. He still owns it. He's very happy. The G37, I think, G35. Really likes it. So I said, hey, you want to come look at your new car? And he walked outside and he went, that's a Cadillac?
I know,
I said,
right?
yes, it is. So it has a really interesting, if you want to look at the pictures, go Google it, the CT5 from Cadillac. The front is different. It has very interesting grille. If you took the big Cadillac shield away from the grille, it would probably be hard to know it's a Cadillac. It has very slim, sleek headlights, and then it has this coupe-like back end, something like the Audi A7 or the A5. And it drives. It has great power. I have the 550. It has great power. I'm just surprised.
I like how they took the side mirrors and made them look like the shield.
Yes.
I think that's very classy.
They have shield features. I'm turning around to look at it. It's in the parking lot. I can see out the window. Yeah. It's just it has very Camaro-looking lights, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah.
The grille, actually, when I look at it, the grille looks very like the Camaro sort of setup. I think this is probably, because the Camaro was always tough and difficult to drive. Inside it was, when I say tough and difficult to drive, it was uncomfortable in the cabin space, but it was a great performer. In fact, 4 seconds faster than its competition around a racetrack. So it was an outstanding, but they just couldn't get the body right. They couldn't get the interior right.
The interior, yeah, the big blocky dials and stuff, I couldn't even see over them.
And the felt.
Yeah.
I'm done with felt on the inside of cars. And I'm glad to say this Cadillac doesn't have any felt on the inside.
I like my Camaro.
That was a surprise.
Yeah.
And it was a surprise when people were doing stupid things in the coffee line this morning. So
Oh, jeez.
let's not go there.
No.
What's on the show today?
That car has power.
Yeah, they annoy. I got annoyed today with people in the coffee line. But there you go.
Shocker.
Yeah, it's not hard for them to annoy me. I've also been driving the Santa Fe from Hyundai, the new one. There's a new one coming this year, but that's super interesting, and we'll talk about the rear occupant alert as well in that. What's on the show today? Stuart Fowle just about to join us. We're going to talk about something new from Onstar, which is great for our community and great for anybody that's served in the military. We're going to talk about the Ram TRX. This has been getting major discussions all over the United States. It's the first vehicle that I can honestly say is the Raptor fighter. There has been no other vehicle, despite the fact that people have called their vehicles a Raptor fighter. This is the one that outperforms the Ford Raptor.
I'm excited.
You want to hear all about that. The big cheese over at Ram is joining us, Mike Korval. We're going to talk Bentley. This is a touch and go for Tim Hannig is going to join us, but we have to make an international call to talk to him in the UK. He's probably in bed already. He's pretty close to being in bed already.
Yeah, it's getting close. I think he's like 9 hours ahead.
And then we're gonna talk a little bit about BMW products. This is a vehicle I've driven an Alpina once, a BMW Alpina. So once you get up past the M's, like the M7 or the M5, the Alpina is the next step up, and it's an outside company that works with BMW that modifies their vehicle. There is an X7 Alpina, which is their big, large SUV. I've driven the 7 Series Alpina. And let me tell you, it's the fastest I have ever driven on a public road in my life. Over 300 kilometers an hour on the Autobahn in Germany. Should put that in there, just in case you were thinking I was being an irresponsible driver. We're also going to get a moment to talk about the new Bronco R. That's the race version of Bronco. Anton Wahlman joining us because there is a new VW that's coming out, which is all electric. And Perry Stern going to join us as well on this morning show. So let's start the morning off with something that is very community-based on today's show. Stuart Fowle is from General Motors. He used to be in charge of Buick and GMC PR. He did an awesome job. Now he's moving up the chain of command. Are you in charge of GM yet, Stuart?
No.
Okay.
Mary Barr is still doing a pretty nice job. So
Okay, good.
I'll stay away from that.
Actually, I always feel like when you become a GM of a big car company, general manager or a president, whatever, it's more of a political job than it is of doing a job. It's bobbing and weaving and fending off blows. So,
that's probably true.
Right.
I got small kids. I don't need that in my life,
you bobbing and weaving from your small kids, I'm sure.
Exactly.
OnStar has done something which is awesome for those who have served in our military and our communities to help them over some difficult times in their life. So OnStar, if you're not familiar with it, is that little blue button. I used it yesterday in my Cadillac CT5 to call for directions. You can call for help. It can notify them. It can do things like unlock and disable things in the car if it's stolen. But you've added a new service to OnStar at General Motors. Tell me what the OnStar now does for our veterans.
Yeah, of course, Nick. And actually, I will start with one more piece. It's been a while since we've talked. And earlier this summer, to your point of OnStar being the blue button, we've expanded beyond the blue button now. So we have a new smartphone app called Onstar Guardian. So this allows our existing customers, and right now it's a free service to them, to download the OnStar Guardian app, and using algorithms within your phone and all the G meters and sensors that your phone has, if you're outside of your OnStar protected vehicle now, if you're driving in someone's Honda, God forbid, and you're in the passenger seat, you can now have the OnStar Guardian app in your phone, and if you get into an accident riding along in someone else's vehicle, OnStar will still call you on your phone to do the automatic crash response, and even especially now these days where a lot of how we get around has changed in the COVID era. If you're just walking down the street and feel uncomfortable for some reason, using the OnStar Guardian app, you could call one of our advisors and have them talk to you until you're safely at home. So a really cool addition. And that does feed into what I'm here to talk about today as well, because the same service is available through the OnStar Guardian app. So the way that we're helping our veterans, you do not have to be in your vehicle, provided you also have the Guardian app. So this was a really great opportunity for us to work with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. And what we identified was that we get so many phone calls every day. We don't know the exact number of veterans that we have, but it is certainly a high number of veterans that are among our customer base. And previously, we never really had a good handoff because the sad fact is 20 veterans every single day die of suicide, and that's just truly tragic. And we haven't had a really good way to get them. We can, of course, do broad emergency assist, but to have someone who is trained and understanding of what our veterans go through on a daily basis and be able to talk to them and identify with them. We have now partnered with the VA so that if a veteran calls into OnStar and says, I need to talk to someone, we can actually quickly identify that they're a veteran and hand them off to more than 400 suicide prevention coordinators that the VA has to support our community as veterans. So helping to connect people faster when speed truly counts.
And I think I like the idea. I mean, it's like the same as anything else, like the crash notification, the crash response OnStar service is something you really hope no one ever has to use, but if they have to use it, it's there. And this is the same way. If you really hope that no one has to use it, but it's there if you need it. And that's the best thing about this. Is this available as of today, right now? So if you go get OnStar Guardian, or if you have OnStar in your car, you can just push the button and get someone to talk to?
It's available now. And importantly for our veterans out there, you mentioned the blue button. The blue button is for requesting directions, less timely requests. There's also the red button on OnStar, which is the emergency button. And this veterans service, we encourage people to press the red emergency button, and that will speed the process up even better.
I'm always worried about pressing the red button in any car, because several cars have it, not the OnStar service, but an SOS button. And accidentally, I hit it the other day, and luckily enough, this particular model of car I was in had a cover over it, so the cover flipped open, and there was another red button underneath, and I was like, oh, that was close. I nearly had to explain my way.
Red button.
Right. Practice, exactly. I nearly had to well, it's a good thing it wasn't missiles or something like that. That would have been really bad. Stuart, it's really great to talk to you, and I'm so proud of General Motors and OnStar to bring this to market. The new OnStar Guardian and the OnStar service to help veterans. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Our Auto Expert. Catch up with previous episodes of the show at our website, ourautoexpert.com. You can hear all the past shows, see automotive videos, and read insider car stories about your next ride. Our Auto Expert is where 2 million Americans get their automotive news daily. You'll find it all at ourautoexpert.com. I have a very passionate place in my heart for the next guest who is coming on, because I saw him when he first took over the role in charge of Ram trucks. And I heard yesterday from Mike Cadell, who is obviously the other half of Our Auto Expert, that he thought the Ram TRX press launch was one of the best press launches he has seen in years. And it was all executed by Mike Korval. He is the new big cheese over at Ram, introducing probably the most exciting truck that we've seen in the last 2 or 3 years come to market. Good morning, Mike. Finally, the Ram 1500 TRX has arrived.
Good morning, Nick and Jen. Great to be with you, and thank you for the opening. We are excited to finally get it out into the marketplace.
I was reading some of the stories, how the press reacted to the launch of this vehicle, and one of the stories talked about a swear jar in the office, and every time somebody mentioned a what they call a Raptor fighter, they had to put money into this jar. And they said, finally now the jar has to be spent on pizza because they finally have a Raptor fighter. And this looks like it'll outperform the Raptor, which is its big competition, with horsepower, with suspension. I mean, we like to go horsepower all the time because it's a language that everybody understands, with 702 horsepower from a 6.2-liter supercharged Hemi V8 engine. However, the biggest breakthrough in this truck is probably the suspension, right?
Yeah, the suspension had to be up to the task. It's all new front and rear suspension to handle the off-road capability that this truck was designed to bring. But Nick, like you said, the all-new Ram 1500 TRX was designed bolt by bolt to significantly outperform every other truck. But we put 2.5-inch bill signs on here, which my engineers, the guys I sent out into the desert to put this truck to the test, tell me they are absolutely plush. But we also maintain that class-exclusive 5-link coil rear suspension, which maintains that characteristically soft ride. That'll be in the TRX as well, so you get the comfort both on and better comfort off-road as well.
I love the idea that everybody is saying that this is going to be an incredible desert racing vehicle, an incredible performance vehicle. I look at some of the numbers, 0 to 60 miles an hour in 4.5 seconds. It would be nice if I actually had a sedan that would do that. It's 100 miles an hour in 10.5 seconds, quarter mile in 12.9 seconds at 108 miles an hour. This has a top speed of 118 miles an hour. Every time I start to read numbers of this, they're absolutely outstanding. And the other thing I think is outstanding is it's, you'd expect to be paying close to $100,000 for a truck like this, but it's not going to cost you that much to get into it.
The guys are telling me that I may be a great product guy, but I'm a horrible businessman. And you know what? That's the best compliment I could ever be paid.
Right. Because you're selling them too cheaply.
Look, we knew that everything that went into this vehicle, this truck is the quickest, fastest, most powerful pickup truck in the world, but it's about the total package. It still has 1,310 pounds of payload, 8,100 pounds of towing capability. So if you want to bring the toys with you up to the lake for the weekend, we wanted to make this vehicle available to all buyers, not just an exclusive few.
What's the chances of a long-term loan on? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. When do we actually get? When do we actually get to drive it as press, and when will we see it arrive in dealerships?
Yeah, great question. So the TRX is available for ordering now at your local Ram dealership. We're going to start building them early Q4. They will be at your dealership before Christmas. And I will see you in Tahoe in the middle of October, provided it's safe to travel by then.
Right. Oh, no, you'll see me if I have to walk.
Exactly.
It's probably only about 1,000 miles probably for me, too. That is incredible, and I'm really excited about the opportunity to drive the truck as well. Is there a market for this? Because, I look at numbers with COVID, and I look at sales. Was this the right time, Mike, to bring this to market?
Well, we absolutely think so, and based on the groundswell of demand, based on our early dealer order flow, it really validated our decision to bring the vehicle to market now. But we teased it 4 years ago at the State Fair of Texas, and our fans and customers have been salivating. They have been waiting for us to bring this to market. And when you kind of take a step back and you look at the light-duty pickup truck segment, it's diverse. You have work trucks, you have family haulers, you have enthusiast trucks, you have luxury trucks now more than ever. But the enthusiasts who we're really kind of going after here, they value their freedom, they value their fun, they're about adventure. And they may have another performance vehicle in their garage, but they will prefer the Ram 1500 TRX because of the ultimate utility that it offers.
So the first exposure that most people get to a truck is a visual. They'll see what it looks like. And you had to make this something that looked like it could race across the desert, but you couldn't lose that identity, that DNA that Ram has spent so many years building. What was the magic formula to make this look aggressive but still a Ram?
Yeah, it's 2.5 inches taller, 8 inches wider than the traditional Ram 1500. The new functional hood scoop with the LEDs in there give the TRX a striking and unmistakable stance. But we were true to our heritage. We're committed to being America's off-road truck leader. Of course, you have the Ram 1500 Rebel. You have the granddaddy of them all, the Ram heavy-duty Power Wagon. And we just think the Ram 1500 TX will expand our lineup and really act as a halo for our brand. I really believe, Nick, that we're going to see new buyers come into Ram that have never considered us before. But that's what you would expect from us as America's off-road truck leader.
And I'm sure you deliver every time. I've never been disappointed in any Ram I've driven, and everybody's trying to catch up with you in many things that you do ahead of the marketplace. Mike, continue the good work you're doing. I'm so pleased that all these great things are happening to Ram and to you, and you have our support all the way. That TRX heading to dealerships, hopefully before the end of the year. You probably want to get an order in, or at least a test drive in before the end of the year, because they're going to go fast. I can feel it happening. All right, stand by. More Our Auto Expert on the way.
You're listening to the Our Auto Expert podcast.
This is our Auto Expert Radio Show. You can contact us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. You can start a conversation with us. Ask us a car question. Just direct messages at ourautoexpert.com, where 2 million Americans get their automotive news daily from our radio, television, and digital presence, and we're glad that you're a part of it. I do remember as a child going to number 10 Downing Street in England, which is where the Prime Minister lives, and seeing a row of very smart Bentleys outside, which were ferrying all those members of the cabinet around to their various meetings. So Bentley's always had a very special place in my heart from a child on, and they have some amazing new products. I had a very nice wander around the Bentley stand at Pebble Beach a couple of years ago, where they were celebrating 100 years, and there was some outstanding cars I remember from my childhood, but also visions into the future of what Bentleys may actually look like. And luckily, we have Tim Hannig on the phone, who is at Bentley. He is the guy who has all the information about some of the new vehicles that are coming out. Tim, I had a look at this. I'm not sure how I pronounce it, but is it Bacala? The Bacala? The Bentley, the new Mulliner collection?
Yeah, hi. Yes, Bacala is the right way to pronounce it, and absolutely, yes, you get that spot on.
It is the most beautiful Bentley I have ever seen in my life. I mean, it's, the lights and the grille and the hood vents and everything. It looks like you guys are taking on the new century with a huge whack of some incredible new designs.
Thank you, first of all, for that super positive feedback. It's music in my ears. You say that, and I think specifically, I can't take credit on the design, but the design team, I agree, has done an absolutely fantastic job on that car. And I think you got it as well completely right. The car is made in order to lead us to a more modern, fresher design for Bentley. So it's not only a very, very special car, but it's as well an ambassador of what's going to come
in the future. Yeah, I think the one thing about Bentley, which is, I think, really spiritual for a lot of people, is there are some supercars in the world, there are some luxury cars in the world which are just absolutely unattainable for most people. When you're talking about vehicles that start $450,000 and go higher than that. But Bentley's always been the car when you're the most successful in your career. You don't have to be a member of the super rich to own them. I see those guys when they first enter the National Football League in the States, the NFL, when they first get their first contract, a lot of times the first thing that people buy is Bentley. So it's been luxury and it's been outstanding, but it's attainable for most people at the successful pinnacle of their career, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're trying to make cars that are very special and very personal. And if what you describe is what people do, if they achieve something and then they treat themselves with a Bentley, then we're really proud of this because that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to create cars for people that really love them, that enjoy them, and they use them as well. So that's what Bentley really is about. And we call them the achievers. And anybody can be an achiever. And we think it's necessary and needed. But it's not a car that's nobody can ever obtain. It's attainable at the end of the day. Of course, still it is very expensive, but I can tell you, it's very expensive to make a Bentley as well.
Right, I'm sure, because Han made lots of man hours. I was at the New York Auto Show probably 10 years ago. We do a live broadcast for Fox Sports and all of the Fox stations out of New York, and I was invited to a great Bentley party in which that Bentley flew over some of the people that make the seats, and I was watching them hand sew Bentley headrests at the party. It was unbelievable that this is how it happens, and you think, oh, everything goes in, the materials go in a machine and come out the other end. It couldn't be more untrue with Bentley. It's a gentleman cutting the leather, a lady sewing the leather, somebody embossing the leather by hand, and that's still the case in crew today, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely, and I think it is something we as well we really cherish is the history of the craftsmanship. If you ever have the chance, and anybody who's listening, if ever has the chance to visit Crewe, what you find in this factory, is we're building a relatively small amount of cars. So but in relation to that, we're employing an enormous amount of people, which is great because these people really still have the skills, and specifically what we call trim, veneering, leather. So, you find individuals, people that have been there for generations, and they can actually create things with their hands, which is rare these days in automotive factories. And yes, as I said earlier, it makes the car a bit more expensive, but it makes it at the end very, very special, very personal. And I think it's really great to see. And every time I walk through the factory and I smell the smell of leather, the smell of wood, it is something that it's not sterile. It's really very personal. It's really very, very true and very authentic.
I'm imagining it right now, and I promise you the next time I'm back at my house in England, I will spend some time and see if we can get up to Crewe and have a look. Let's talk a little bit about the new Continental, the GT Mulliner convertible. Defining open-top luxury again, is there still a market for people to have open-top vehicles?
Yeah, absolutely. And if we just, I couldn't imagine myself whenever I'm in good weather and on a nice road, I would want to, and I really do want to put the roof down. So it's absolutely no question. There is a huge demand, and I think it's ultimately the definition of automotive spiritual freedom to have the roof down. So yeah, absolutely yes, there is a demand, and we see that every day by people ordering them.
This, the Mulliner division of Bentley, or Bentley Mulliner, it's pretty old, isn't it? I mean, you guys have been doing this for a long time, and it's sort of the authentic hand-built coachworks that Bentley owns.
Yeah, the history of Mulliner is absolutely incredible. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the roots of Mulliner go back until 1500 something. Wow. We don't know quite exactly. So they started doing saddles. So you could happily say they were in the mobility business, even 1500 something. And the first proper contract that we know they've done is they created carriages for the Royal Mail, and therefore there's a written contract. And that written contract is from 1746. So that's more than 250 years ago. And one would assume they started to do some carriages before the Royal Mail asked them to create carriages for them. So I think we can rightfully say it's probably the oldest automotive company in existence. And then Mulliner specialized when the coach build, the carriage building was done, and it wasn't all about the automotive. And they started to do very special creations based on chassis. We have to remember that in the old times, when the automobile was invented or created, the automotive companies created chassis that were running, including a radiator, bonnet, etc., and delivered these to coach builders. And coach builders then created specific and individual cars and bodies on top of that for the customers. So you had a Bentley, for example, Bentley Speed 6, with a Gurney Knuckling or a Van Pla or a Mulliner body on top of it. And that's what Mulliner did. So it was separate in different companies. And after the war, the company Bentley bought Mulliner and kind of merged the two. So it has a very, very long history of Mulliner creating very special Bentleys.
And you're sort of also rebirthing some of that history. I mean, Bentley coming back with the 1929 iconic team blower to be built, to be reborn with their vehicles. You're sort of emphasizing the past in sort of a modern version, aren't you?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, but it's not a modern version. It is actually the old car. I always try to describe it in the way that it's actually a 1929 model year, 2020 build. So it's wherever we can, wherever possible, we're going back not only to the original materials, but as well to the ways how we actually create and produce those. And effectively, we're recreating 12 masterpieces, which are exactly as they would have been in 1929, which is, I sometimes refer to it, it's industrial archaeology we're doing. because
Wow.
it is a lot of work to get to the minute detail and getting it right.
That is incredible. I thought it was going to be with all modern materials, but that's absolutely incredible. So, if are these going to be for sale? Could I buy one, or is it are they going to now go to just special exhibitions or something?
No, they're all sold, unfortunately. So unfortunately, I couldn't offer you one anymore.
Sorry, Nick.
Which is I know it's bad and good news at the same time. It's good news for you, bad news for you as well. But they're all sold to individuals, and the vast majority of people. So they're of course they are not as they come. They are not legal in terms of because they don't comply with modern standards. So
Right.
majority of customers will use them in events and in special opportunities, which they can use them. And that's great because this allows these cars to be really seen and be around, etc. And I think that's something which is very special about classic cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
People can enjoy them without needing to own them. They have a fascination around them.
Yeah.
And you can adore them. You can really enjoy being there and see them, but you don't necessarily have to own them yourself.
Yeah, and I honestly, if it was in the United States, 25 years after they were built, they would be legal because they'd be 25 years old on the road. Tim, we're out of time. Amazing. I could talk to you all day. More Our Auto Expert on the way.
You're listening to Our Auto Expert.
Your smart speaker can be your radio. Just say, hey Google, or hey Alexa, or hey Siri. Our Auto Expert, play Our Auto Expert radio show. And all previous episodes of the podcast are available. Hours of endless fun await you. I'm Nick Miles, and this is Our Auto Expert radio show. Our Auto Expert is where 2 million Americans get their automotive news daily, online, or on the digital, or on the radios, or on the televisions. You have choices of seeing us absolutely everywhere. Probably sick and tired of it by now, I'm sure. Did nothing but talking about cars. So I'm not sick and tired of seeing these great Florida teachers. It's hard when kids go back to school, and we all know that things around COVID have made it very difficult for schools to reopen, some which have chosen not to and to continue doing their courses online, some which have chosen to reopen but have social distancing in place. Well, a couple of first-grade teachers in Florida decided to do something to help their kids around COVID, and so they took their desks and they put perspex around the top, plastic glass around the top to make like a windshield and side windows, and the bottom of the desk they made look like Jeeps. There is a great picture online, and then they put as the number plate the kid's name, and that is outstanding because now each kid comes back to their own looking like a Jeep desk with the plastic dividers functioning as car windshields and windows. The dividers are just one strategy that many schools are employing to keep their students safe. Many are questioning it with patrons. Will it be enough? But ultimately, I think this is a great start to making kids feel comfortable and back to school, and just took a little ingenuity. I'd like to see a lot more schools do that as well. And it doesn't have to be just now.
I like how they put the names on the license plates.
Yeah, I think that's great
really
too.
cute.
Yeah, and it stops spitballs too, which is great.
Just bounce off your
Yes,
windshield and hit you in the
exactly.
face.
But there should be some way of deadening the sound in there too, so if somebody throws a hissy fit, it doesn't disturb the rest of the class. They need sound deadening glass.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they need. I think it's great. It's a really great way to get kids back to school and make them feel comfortable as well. This week, I have been driving a couple of different cars. We talked at the top of the show about the CT5, but also talking about the new Hyundai Santa Fe, or the 2020 Hyundai Santa Fe. Now, Hyundai Motors showcased the rear occupancy alert system in a new video, and we've covered it several times with the vehicle itself. The system monitors the rear seats using an ultrasonic sensor that helps detect movement of children or pets, and the system reminds drivers to check the rear seat when exiting the vehicle with a message on the center console cluster display. If the system detects movement in the rear seat after the driver leaves the vehicle, it'll honk the horn, flash the lights, and send a BlueLink alert to the driver's smartphone via Hyundai BlueLink connected car system. In addition to being forgotten often in cars, tragedies have happened to this, but also you can leave things like ice cream on the back seats, which doesn't move, but anything that moves will set off those alarms, and you can actually get a signal on your phone. I think this is a great idea. Some car companies, Nissan and General Motors, have a rear occupancy alert, which alerts you if you open the back doors at any point, but it doesn't see movement. And some of the newer systems see movement in the back. Now, I've never left a dog in the car, or I've never left a child in the car, but it does help you if you get distracted, reminds you of things. And I think these systems combined with weight on the seats or putting something in the back does help an awful lot with letting you know that they're in the back seat of the car. Pretty tragic, but it's a great way to make sure that you can not have melted ice cream all over the back seat as well, which I will tell you, I have left groceries in the back of the car. What happens with me, and I don't know if this happens with you, I'll go grocery shopping, but it'll be kind of an add-on task. So I'll have to do 5 other things. Go and get something from the doctor's office, go and pick up something, run a check over somewhere, sign some papers, have a quick meeting. And I'll do grocery shopping in between some of the downtime. And then you go and do other things. And I don't buy frozen stuff when I do that. But I think that's, I forget. And I wonder what it's like for me, for our listeners in Florida, they will easily be able to understand this, but I don't have to worry so much about living in the northwest of the United States. I'm often in Florida and Texas and those, but not for long periods, and don't usually grocery shop when I'm there. But I wonder what it's like to be in one of these locations and just forget when you bought groceries. I mean, you can't buy frozen stuff. I see people go to the store here with these freezer bags and put their groceries in so stuff doesn't melt by the time they get it home. I'm not that savvy, to be honest with you. I'm lucky if I take a grocery bag shopping, like a reusable bag. I have about 200 of them, but I'm pretty useless in remembering to do it. The best I can do is remember my mask. But it does help. I think it does help an awful lot. And if you live in a hot climate, it would be a nightmare trying to get frozen goods. I almost want them shipped.
I think it's sad that we as Americans can forget stuff in the backseat of a car, and we need an alarm system. I mean, honestly.
Look, there's plenty of news. You can Google it and see plenty of news stories where people have done
awful.
it. And that would be the end. That would be the end of your life. I mean, you're done. You do something horrendous like that, you'd be done. I worry when I have 5 dogs, and when I take them to the vet, I worry about going to the other side of the car and getting the dog out. So like I shut the dog in the car and the car's turned off, and I have to walk around the other, and it's hot, it's 100 degrees outside or something, and I have to walk around the other side of the car to let them out, so it's the door closest to the garage where they're going to go in. Mm-hmm. I worry about that little walk around the back of the car. It's like, I hope they don't get too hot in the 30 seconds it takes me to get out and get them into the house. Right. But at the same time, and I have 3 of my dogs are old. They're 13, 14, and 15-ish. We don't really know because they were rescues. So if it gets over 72 degrees in the house, they start.
Right.
And it's interesting. You can always tell which cars my dogs have been in because there's a moist a line where the height of the dog is, and there's a line across where the nose has been against the window.
The little slobber line.
Yeah. It's slobber lines, and I have my personal vehicles. I have the dogs in my personal vehicles, but I don't put them in my press cars for obvious reasons.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting too. But there you go. That's exactly what I would do. The CT5, which we've been driving, is just Cadillac's new. It's the same size as the Audi A6 or the BMW 5 Series, the E-Class from Mercedes. I think that, however, is a big change. I'm an SUV guy at heart. I like SUVs, those things, because wagons. But here's the deal: when you get to drive a really cool sedan, it's like this is kind of cool. Like I think sedans are kind of cool. I forget.
I love them.
I forget how cool they are. Well, you love big trucks.
I do.
Minivans are the only thing you don't like.
And wagons. I don't like
wagons are sexy. They're
no.
yoga pants and pigtails and cool dads with big beards and pets and camping and performance. I tell you, we need to call Mercedes. We get an S63 Mercedes AMG E-Wagon E-Wagon S63. No, E-Wagon
Can you make it any
E63S. That's what I'm
okay.
trying to say. 603 horsepower.
No.
Wagon.
No.
It drifts.
So?
You know what
I
you're talking about. 4-hour
do.
auto expert on the way.
You're listening to the Our Auto Expert podcast.
Locally created, nationally celebrated from the northwest to the southeast, this is America's Car Radio Show. If it has a throttle, we'll feature it on air, online, on smart speaker, or on smartphone. This is Our Auto Expert, where 2 million Americans get their automotive news daily. I'm your host, Nick Miles, along with truck girl Jen. Into the second part of the show, I will tell you that it is probably the best experience I've had in my life driving a BMW Alpina. I went to the Alpina factory and drove the BMW Alpina. Had a really, really good time driving it. The B7, so they're called B7. I drove it on the Autobahn and went over 300 kilometers an hour. It was absolutely mouth-dropping, I have to tell you. And I can't even tell you how amazing it was to drive this vehicle. My friend who was sitting next to me got it up to around 284 kilometers an hour. Let me just Google that and see what 300 kilometers per hour in miles. You guys are already ahead of me, aren't you? So if you were to do 300 kilometers an hour in miles an hour, that would be 186 miles an hour. I'm just telling you, it was so fast. That was on a public road in Germany on the Autobahn. And this Alpina was, I just can't even explain how absolutely amazing this vehicle was. Anyway, there you go. That's my story about driving an Alpina. So there is this factory in Germany, and Alpina isn't actually part of BMW, although they have a very close association with BMW and driving these vehicles. The Alpina guys take the vehicles and make them into their special versions of the vehicles. So the Alpina, the B7 Alpina, was amazing to drive. It was a 7 Series which was converted. The other one that is just about to hit the streets is the brand new BMW X7 Alpina, and I'm not sure, I think it's probably an X7B is what they call it as far as the Alpina is concerned. So it's really an outstanding vehicle. Now, we got a little bit of time last week to talk to Katie Alini. I got it right last time, didn't I? Katie Alini. She is BMW product manager for the BMW 7 Series and the 8 Series, along with the X7, and also, of course, manages the Alpina account as well. Kate, so first of all, let me ask you, how do we term this? Because the 7B, or is it a B7, is what you would call the sedan version of the Alpina. What's the X7 version of Alpina? How do you? What's the nomenclature for it?
So it's the Alpina XB7.
Okay,
so,
XB7.
Yeah.
All right.
XB7, and it's the first sports activity vehicle that Alpina's produced for the U.S. market. It's actually the fourth Alpina model that we've produced in Spartanburg, in our Spartanburg plant, but it's the first to be sold here in the U.S. to customers.
Oh.
As the first SAV. Mm-hmm.
I was astounded by driving the 7 Series Alpina version on the roads in Germany and going to the Alpina factory. It was phenomenal. The first time I've done the speeds on a public road I ever did with that vehicle. Tell us a little bit about some of the stats around the X7 version and Alpina version, because I'm sure it's as outstanding as the sedan version, right?
It is. It's a sibling, and it literally brings all of that understated elegance and luxury, coupled with the bespoke details that only Alpina can do, and the superior driving dynamics that we know from the B7. It's really, truly a beautiful vehicle, handles exceptionally. It's the most powerful X7 that we offer right now. Produces 612 horsepower, 590 pound-foot of torque, and it goes 0 to 60 in 4 seconds flat. So for a big car, a truck, if you will, an SUV, it's really hauls. So it's great.
Okay, you probably have to get onto a racetrack to test that, though. I mean, the Autobahn or a racetrack, right?
Correct. You need a nice long straight line to appreciate it. It's really that refined touring powerful engine, and it handles like no other BMW. The Alpina tuning and treatment sets it apart from other BMWs, a different style.
Now, so the association is with Alpina and BMW. You guys are twins, but you have different parents, I guess would be the best way of putting it. Alpina is sort of a separate company, but you're joined at the hip, right?
Yeah, Alpina is an independent, family-owned business based in Buchlau, Germany, where you probably visited.
Yeah.
And we've had a long-standing partnership with them, and they've produced some of the most special versions of our BMW production models over the years. It's still family-owned and run. The gentleman that launched it, Mr. Bowman-Zeman, and his two sons still run the business. They even live on the premises. We're in the headquarters. Mm-hmm. And it's really all about that craftsmanship, bespoke, handmade, refined design overall, plus the performance. So it really is a very unique version of our BMW offering.
Now, Jen was telling me all the X7s are sold out for the Alpina trim level. Is that the case? We have to wait till next year to order one, or what's the situation?
Shadow Edition.
Yeah, that's true. Like the Dark Shadow Edition, we've sold out in terms of our available production till the end of this year, 2020. Ordering opened in May, and it was very popular. People were waiting for this. And we've already satisfied all of our production slots through the end of the year. But you can still put in orders. You just might have to wait a bit longer for production next calendar year.
All right. Let's talk about the Alpina doing their first SUV. It almost seems like, or a sports activity vehicle, it almost seems like everything Alpina do, SUVs aren't really in their wheelhouse. So did they have to adapt to do this? Because they've always done these sort of performance sedans. This was something new for them, and I'm sure it took a lot of testing because they weren't used to working on something which was more truck-like.
Yeah, actually, they did produce several other Alpinas, as I mentioned, but they were not available in the U.S. So they even produced SUV models for the based on the X3 and X4 in the past. Okay. So they're quite familiar. But this is the first time that an SUV is available in the U.S. and, of course, on our new flagship model.
Now, but they were only made in Germany at one point, right?
Yes, exactly. So with the 7 Series, the B7 version of the Alpina, they basically produced that vehicle in Plant Zingelfing in Germany, BMW factory, and then the vehicle moves to Alpina for the tuning, manufacturing, et cetera, and then it goes back to Zingelfing again. In this case, the vehicle is being built in the U.S., in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and what they did was they moved the whole Alpina production processes down right to Spartanburg, and essentially it's built into the existing production aspects down in Spartanburg, and then they have a special vehicles operations area where they install all of the Alpina parts, so that sort of hand finishing treatment that they get. And all of the folks that are doing that are trained by Alpina white glove expertise. So they really are producing Alpina vehicles just as they would back in Buchlau.
You know this question is coming, probably knew it was coming. Does this mean that there'll be more Alpinas produced in the United States, the opportunity to expand the line?
I'm quite certain, but can't confirm that there'll be future Alpinas. Whether or not they're going to be produced in Spartanburg is to be TBD as well. But again, we have a long-standing relationship with Alpina. They are vehicles like no other. They really augment our portfolio here in the U.S. They're very popular. They're for a very discerning customer. And I'm certain there'll be more vehicles to come with the Alpina brand.
I noticed the vehicles in the showrooms, and I'm not sort of familiar with this, but the vehicles in the showrooms that at the Alpina headquarters were actually specific colors. They make just a smaller range of very significant colors for the vehicle. Is it going to be the same with the ones made in the U.S.? They're only going to be available in certain colors?
Well, actually, there's several exterior paints that it's available in, but will also be available in Alpina, the green, and also the blue that we're all very much used to. It's their signature color. The Alpina Blue Metallic will be available as of December production, and then the Alpina Green Metallic will be available next April. So those exterior colors are coming later, but we have several other exterior paints available. And then more about the the Alpena Exterior, if you will. I mean, if you're familiar with it, but first and foremost, it looks different from the front and the back everywhere. It has the front spoiler with the Alpena lettering, which is subtle but beautiful. It's got a unique front bumper and the splitter system. And then from the rear, it has the quad exhaust system. And, of course, it has blue brake rotors, which are amazing, and they're Alpena specific. And overall, even in the interior, the luxury is taken to a different level. It's really, again, about understated, refined luxury. And, if you sat in the Alpena B7, and I would say it's similar to that. It's got that steering wheel with the Lavellina leather with the proprietary stitching. It's got the hand logo punched into the floor mats. It's got the iDrive controller has crystal glass with the laser-etched Alpena logo in it. And it even has a unique Alpena-specific digital instrument cluster. So the actual instrument cluster is specially designed and colored for Alpena.
You have my car mouth watering right now because I'm just hearkening back to driving that B7 on the Autobahn. It was amazing, and I can't wait to maybe get the possibility to drive the X7 version as well. All right,
I can help you out with that.
Oh, all right. Yes, you'll be my best friend ever. What price do these start at?
So the Alpena starts at $143,000 plus destination and handling. Actually, sorry, $141,300, and then the destination and handling charge on top of that.
And that's not for the faint of heart, but I can tell you it'll change your life when you get to drive one as well. Kate, listen, thanks for spending some time with us. All I'm going to be able to think of for the rest of the show is about that the new X7 Alpena. It's just most outstanding. More Our Auto Expert on the way. If you can possibly imagine, we're going to talk about other vehicles, not Alpinas.
You're listening to Our Auto Expert. Catch previous episodes of the show at our website, ourautoexpert.com. You can hear all past shows, see our automotive videos, and read insider car stories about your next ride. Our Auto Expert is where 2 million Americans get their automotive news daily. You'll find it all at ourautoexpert.com. That is the website. Well, it was probably one of the biggest unveils in American history, the new Ford Bronco. And there are currently, the last figures I have is there is 160,000 of them on order. But it's sort of the Bronco we're going to talk about next. It's the Bronco R. And joining us on the phone, Paul Wraith. He is the chief designer for the Bronco R. First of all, Paul, question. Is the Bronco R the same vehicle that we were teased with last year before the Bronco kind of came out? Because the R, the Baja race version of it, is what everyone kind of got introduced to the first ideas of what the Bronco would look like, right?
Hi, yes. The Bronco R was that vehicle that we showed first a year ago and then took to the Baja 1000. And so, it teased a little bit of some of the then secrets of what the future Bronco family of vehicles would look like.
This Bronco is almost out of control. I'm not sure that Ford knew your Bronco was going to be such a success for the rest of the United States. They knew there was a lot of interest and a lot going on, but I know the morning of the Bronco when we were up there at Hollyoaks that we had, I think, something like some incredible millions of viewers that watched us that morning do live TV and show off the new Bronco. And ultimately, the proof of the pudding is in the orders for the new Bronco as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, the response has been phenomenal. It sort of confirms the nervous energy that we all had throughout the development of the Bronco Sport and also the Bronco R.
Let's talk a little bit about the R.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about the R because this so the R is really sort of the pinnacle performance version of the vehicle, right?
Yeah, the R is a racetrack, hence the R, and we built it because we wanted to test a lot of componentry that the production Bronco would take.
Right.
In the heat of battle and in a very extreme environment. So. Yeah, we started off with a chassis frame and powertrain components and suspension components. And then, the Bronco, as people are able to order it now, didn't exist in a form that we could take to that event. So we needed to do something to wrap up all those components for this test. And that led us to design the vehicle we did.
Is the Bronco R going to join the family on the pre-order list at some point, or is it just sort of a work of concept? I mean, or are they going to be for sale?
No, they won't be for sale. It's a race truck. It's a very hardcore focused race truck. I think when we ran it last year, we were really just wanting to test all of those components to destruction, and then we've been working on it over the last 12 months as well, taking the findings from the Baja 1000 and feeding them into the development process for the actual production Bronco vehicles that you can buy. But we've also been developing the race truck as well over the last few months, because we're going back to the Baja 1000 at the end of the year.
And that's going to be good, because then you'll get to see if all your hard work pays off with that as well. If I was to take one of the new Broncos, the 4-door or the 2-door full-size Bronco, and sort of put all of these, all the possible parts on it, would I start to approach where this new Bronco R is, or is it just completely off the hook?
Well, it has a lot in common. So, like I said, the powertrain, the transmission, the suspension, the chassis frame, and so on, it's got a lot in common. When you park them side by side, the R is clearly a more focused and extreme vehicle. It doesn't have a windshield. It doesn't have opening doors, for example. It's only got now 2 seats.
Right.
So there's a lot of differences. Although it has a bodywork, that bodywork is hung over the top of a very specialised tubular race structure. Whereas the Bronco, of course, is something that is supremely capable and could take you across the same landscape. I have no doubt at all. But it's also a vehicle you can use every day.
I think, knowing how well the Raptor's done for Ford, that there's probably some flavour in there in the future to make something available that was sort of somewhere in between, so it was actually drivable on the roads. Because, that gets... I mean, the Bronco's got me excited, don't get me wrong, but that gets me a little bit more excited, because I'm like, well, I'd rather have one of those, Bronco R's. So if you ever feel like it, just pencil something in for me, because I'd be totally into that as well. Is this the backwards way or the forwards way of designing a vehicle? Do you design it on capabilities and a race truck and then build something that's street-worthy, or do you take something that's street-worthy and then design it for the racetrack?
Really the latter. The design of the Bronco and the Bronco Sport that we've unveiled and we're taking orders for, that was kind of fixed at that point in the studio. The studio design properties, they're not vehicles you can drive down the street. They don't have engines, for example. So,
right.
When we understood that we were going to do the race truck, we had to take bits, if you like, of a suggestion, an intimation, a hint of the production vehicles and bring it forward into that race truck. The fun part was is how much do you dial in and how much do you dial out? What do we show and what do we not show? And so the actual vehicle is covered in elements which some people got, and other bits were more subtle that are now available on the production Bronco.
Unfortunately, I usually have to have everything explained to me, because I don't work it out. I'm not very good at vision, so I just like going fast in the desert. So that's just how I work. The whole Bronco family and the Bronco nameplate now, it's obviously where America wants to go. Can we expect to see more in that direction in the future?
Yeah, I think we recognise that there's a desire for people to get out and go do things and explore this fantastic landscape.
Right.
And I think key to, aside from the how the vehicle looks, we actually want the vehicle to be really easy to use, and we want to create systems enough that if you own a Bronco, that landscape that is tantalising you in those Instagram posts and on the TV adverts and in the movies, it becomes more accessible. So we'll have trail mapping so that the systems on board the vehicle can tell you where the trails are and actually help you on through those trails as well.
Yeah, I'm absolutely amazed by everything you've done. You should actually take a vacation, because I think you guys have a winner. More to come on Our Auto Expert. Stand by.
You're listening to the Our Auto Expert podcast.
You're listening to our Auto Expert radio show. I'm Nick Miles. This is a possibility for you to catch up with all previous episodes of the show. Our website is ourautoexpert.com. You can also get hold of us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can start a conversation with us and ask car questions. Just direct messages at Our Auto Expert. It's where 2 million Americans get their automotive news daily. I will tell you that I get a lot of questions.
I do too.
You have to, if you want to ask a question, say, I have a question about buying my new car. So someone texted me the other day, or sent a message through Facebook, I think, and it was like, I got approved for $20,000. Like, and? And? So tell me, I'm looking for a truck. What do you recommend? Or do you know anybody at Ford who can get me a discount? Or, these sort of things. And we have plenty of people. We can set you up on one-on-one with the big cheeses who own dealerships. We can do a lot of things to help you buy a vehicle. I can also tell you, here's a bit of insider information. If you want to buy a car, you need to look at what companies do what for whom. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a very general and weird statement, but think about this. If you're a veteran or a graduating college student, or you have a pre-existing vehicle from that dealership, then all you have to do is do something quite simple and see if they're doing a discount. So most veterans get $500 at least, as if you're a member of the military, you get $500 from a lot of brands that comes off directly off of the price of the car. Secrets, if you want to buy a car through one of the big stores like Costco, you can get it for usually $1,000 difference on the vehicle. They will do discounts for graduating college students. GM do something if you have a competitive vehicle that exactly competes with what you're buying, and you're buying a General Motors vehicle, they can help you with that. There are lists and lists of discounts you can get. You might have shunned those AARP envelopes when they arrived at your house on your 50th birthday. But to be honest with you, you sign up for AARP, it'll give you a discount on the car. It's something that's built into the vehicle. Plus, then you can start negotiating. Once all those discounts have been applied with a dealer, you can start negotiating for some of those discounts as well. And that is the magic of doing some of these things. You just have to know. I'll always also be happy to explain to you what you need to do to sell your car and get the best for it. You need to make sure that you get it nice and clean before you even think about selling it. So that's probably where you should start. Clean out those old sandwiches from the glove box and that candy which is stuck to the bottom of the cup holder. Anton Wahlman is an independent analyst and investor. He joins us every week to talk about the latest in automotive news. So, Anton, let's start with the ID4. Finally, this new Volkswagen getting ready to hit the streets of the United States.
That's right. So production started the other week in Germany, from which it will be initially exported for about a year and a half to the United States before production also starts in Tennessee in the summer of 2022. But in the short run here, we actually have not yet seen the full unveiling of the production-ready car. They've teased it with a little bit of camouflage on it here and there, but we haven't actually seen the proper unveiling. So that's coming here in just a few weeks from now. But Volkswagen sent out an announcement that production has started, and this marks one of those extremely rare moments in time in automotive business when the car actually starts production before it is fully unveiled, which I thought was somewhat noteworthy.
Yeah, I think that's kind of interesting too, although I did get an invite via email to a virtual walk-around of the vehicle. So, that's obviously the unveiling for the media and is quite exciting to be able to see it, because it seems like we have a backup of all these electric vehicles that are about to hit the dealerships and hit the streets and hit the unveils and hit the interwebs, but we haven't actually seen many of them because of COVID or because of one reason or the other. What we are starting to see is Polestar beginning sales in Norway of their Polestar 2.
That's right. So it was 3 or 4 weeks ago that they started delivering them there at the end of July, and they've sold in Norway, which, mind you, is a small country of about 5.4 million people, about 300 of them here in August, and about another 30, 40 of them at the end of July. So for U.S. measures, it's kind of a small volume, but if you're looking at it, it's pretty good on a per capita basis, and that is rocketed this vehicle to, I think it's third or fourth in terms of volume sales in Norway. And for those who don't know, Norway has been, for the last 4 or 5 years, the country in the world with the highest percentage of battery electric vehicles of any country in the world. About 50% of all vehicles sold are battery electric vehicles, and then you add another 20 or so percentage points worth of plug-in hybrids, and you have over 2/3 of the market in Norway being a car that has some form of a plug on it of some kind.
I think that it's interesting to note that the fact that Norway has all these electric vehicles, but yet when you look at world oil production, they're in the top, usually 2 or 3 people, 2 or 3 nations who produce oil. So they're actually putting their profits from oil to good use, aren't they?
Yeah, so they're the sort of the Kuwait of Europe. They are one of the top 3 largest exporters of oil in the world, and but they've decided to basically tax all non-electric cars very, very highly. You pay essentially a 100% excise tax on the import price, and then you pay another 25% VAT on top of that. And if you buy an electric car, you're exempt from all of those, and you're exempt from all sorts of parking fees and all of these little ferries that have to shuttle you across some of the fjords in Norway that you otherwise have to pay a fee for, and annual registration tax. So basically, if you buy an electric car, you're exempt from all of these enormous fees, and that makes it really a motivating factor for you as a consumer to go and do exactly that, just buy an electric car.
How are the Norwegians with this? Are they at one with it? Are they at peace with it, or do they resent somewhat what their government is doing?
Well, I think that if you were to look at polling in Norway, it's obviously at some point when you make something look like it's cheaper, there are a lot of people that will be in favor of that. But then you have the other half of the people who are saying, wait a minute, somebody's paying for this somehow. And guess who is paying for it? Well, we're sort of paying for it ourselves, because it is effectively a giant subsidy, because if they weren't doing this, then all cars would be put on par with each other from a taxation standpoint. So the country is basically divided on the policy, roughly 50-50.
So BMW now showing more of what they had originally called the iNext. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so iNext is the electric car that is going to be at the very pinnacle, at least as we exit 2021, in the BMW lineup of all of the battery electric vehicles. It's an SUV that sits sort of from a size and shape perspective, somewhere between an X3 and an X5, and it will come with the most advanced suite of also advanced driving assistant aid technology, so it will have the potential to go as high as possible in the stack of autonomous driving that BMW will dare to put on public roads. So production of this vehicle is set to start in about July of 2021 and be in dealerships before the end of 2021. We'll see, though, to what extent it makes it to the U.S. shores before the end of 21, because I imagine, as we have seen in so many of these cases, that the supplies into the home European market will definitely be prioritized.
It's interesting to look at how BMW have done with electric vehicles in the past, because the i3 and the i3S are the only 2 fully electric vehicles available in the United States, and they've not been huge winners for BMW.
No, so really they started marketing these things as city car, and of course you cannot sell an automobile in the United States with any great success if you're marketed as a city car. I mean, you might as well market it saying, well, we have a death trap for sale. People just do not buy a car in the United States that says death trap. They might have said, well, we are, it's like death trap or communist, basically. If you say city car, those are a couple of the first words that come to mind to a lot of people, and that's not what people want. So the car looked kind of funny. I was actually one of the people who actually loved the way the car looked. It is one of the most fun things you can drive around in a city environment, and it's got an engineering underpinning that is truly unique. I really loved it, but it was hard to recommend it to a lot of people because it was somewhat expensive, and also the luggage space was somewhat small. And you would have thought that BMW would have come out with simply a larger version of this that would not have looked so funny but have fitted more people and more luggage, I think they would have had a lot better success with it. And eventually, that's what we're now seeing. That'll be out here in dealerships, first in Europe and then in the United States, starting in just about a year from now.
All right, LG says there is no battery shortage, despite what we've been told in the past.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of talk, of course, in the press that the automakers are really constrained by there not being enough batteries. And LG is the company that has the largest customer list of batteries in the world. If you look at all the geographies on average, Europe, North America, and some parts of Asia. And they actually came out this last week and said, look, there's been a lot of talk that we're having trouble supplying all of these automakers, and they said that's not really true. We're delivering all the orders we can get, and of course in Europe they have the largest battery factory that's located in Poland. Those are the batteries that fit inside vehicles such as the Jaguar I-Pace, the Audi e-tron, a number of Volvos and other brands that are being made that are being supplied from there, and even I think the Ford Mustang Mach-E is going to be supplied by batteries from that factory. So basically they say, no, this is not a problem. And they're also expanding, of course. They're building all sorts of other factories around the world. But so far, they're able to keep up with demand.
All right, it's good to know that not everything you hear in the media is true, only on this radio show, and everything from Anton Wahlman, of course. Anton Wahlman, independent analyst and investor, great guy. You can read the majority of his stuff at Seeking Alpha or The Street, and it's a good place to know to catch up on the business end of the automotive world. We'll be catching up on more cool car stuff when we return. Stand by, here we go.
You're listening to Our Auto Expert. Your smart speaker can be your radio. Just say, hey Google, hey Alexa, or hey Siri, play Our Auto Expert radio show and all previous episodes of the show. Shush, 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 shush. See, that's what happens when you do it and you have the phone there. All previous episodes of the podcast are available. Hours of endless fun. I'm Nick Miles. This is Our Auto Expert radio show. 2 million Americans get their automotive news from Our Auto Expert. And one of the guys that writes much of that news is our friend Perry Stern. But you can read Perry's stuff at MSN.com, MSN Autos, and also at Our Auto Expert. Perry, you have been enjoying some Mercedes in your life recently, haven't you?
I have, and when you think of Mercedes, you think high-end, and this is not high-end, but it's still great.
It's this. Is it this? No, the A-Class is their smallest, so it's a one step up from their smallest, the CLA, right?
Right, it's the GLA. It's the smallest SUV that they have.
The GLA.
Yes.
This is brand new, right?
It is. Well, they've had a GLA before, so it is completely redone. And I think they did a great job with it. I mean, the best thing you can say about it is it drives like a Mercedes, even though it's entry level.
It got a little bigger this time around, didn't it?
It did in some ways. So it does have more interior space, but it's actually shorter than the previous version. But they've stretched the wheelbase a bit, so you've got less overhang. It just gives it a more sporty look. But interior, it's amazing how much space they put into this, car that has a pretty small footprint.
There's certain things I like very much about it. One of the things I was disappointed about the new GLA is the fact that in the European version it has the same thing as the GLS, which is the car wash mode. But they say for some reason they weren't able to, although it had it on the test models that we drove, they weren't able to put it on the actual production car. And I think the car wash mode actually helps you, because a lot of times I forget when I'm going through the car wash, oh, I got to turn the mirrors in. Oh, I've got to do this, detach the aerial. It kind of does everything for you.
Yeah, and it beeps at you the entire time, although it does make some interesting camera views.
Yes, I do. I had Joey in the car, one of my dogs, the last time I did it, and he's looking at the screen as these brushes go across, and his eyes are going back and forward, and he was growling at it. So, but it's kind of interesting to see the front cameras. He was like, what's going on? There's something on the screen. Mind you, every time we're at home watching TV and a dog appears on the TV, he can be fast asleep, and he'll be right at the TV in a second. So car wash brushes were obviously as exciting as dogs. The vehicle actually comes with a lot of the tech that you'd expect to get in a higher end Mercedes.
Exactly, and the one I was driving actually had the upgraded display screen, and basically it's two, I believe it is 10.25-inch displays that are connected behind one plate of glass, I suppose. So basically, it looks like one large display that combines the driver display and the center display, but it makes it look so high tech. And when I talked to the Mercedes folks, they said that the majority of the people that buy these upgrade to that screen.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me that when I sat inside it, that screen goes more than halfway across the dash. So it's starting to be the dash is becoming one entire massive screen. But it also makes it feel like you're driving something that's closer to $90,000 than something that's around $40,000, right?
Exactly, and that's the nice thing about this car. Even without the screen, I mean, every little detail, it's just really nice materials. And it feels solid. It doesn't feel like, economy crossover. And that's what what you want in a Mercedes. And that's probably one of the reasons that this is, Mercedes refers to this as the gateway. So basically, if they can get new buyers into one of these, they understand what Mercedes is all about. And, in some cases, they get them for life.
That summed up things in my head just then, which made me smile as you were talking about it. The gateway to your Mercedes addiction, I guess, is the way it would work. It's nice to know that some of the things that we see on the higher end cars are in there. Have you had an opportunity to experience what 3 words?
What 3 words? No, I'm not. I'm not familiar with that. No.
So these are in all new Mercedes, and when I tell you about it, I promise you, Perry, you will not stop using it.
Nick is addicted to what 3 words.
So every 10 feet of the world has been squared off by the company What 3 Words and given its own 3-word address. And so Mercedes now have this in it. So you can look up What 3 Words on the internet and find your home address being 3 words, which could be like screen, coffee, flag. And those could be the 3 words that denote your address. And you can say those words to Mercedes. So you can hit the MBUX system and say screen, coffee, flag, or hey, Mercedes, go to screen, coffee, flag, and it will direct you to that 10-foot squared. And I have it on my phone now, and I'm constantly people saying, where shall I meet you? And I send them the What 3 Words address, and they're like, What are you doing? What is this? What is this, crazy person? Unfortunately, I seem to be more excited about it than anyone else is.
Well, this is something new to me. I've now learned something new today, and now I'm dying to go and look up my What 3 Words.
Okay,
yeah,
Perry. Once he gets on this kick, he tells me all about it, and I swear I spent a good hour and a half looking up everybody I know.
they're What 3, and the great thing is about it, your property is presumably most people's property is bigger, or the place they live is bigger than 10-foot square. So you have multiple addresses that will direct people to where you live. And the great thing is you can choose which one you give out, which is coolest.
I have 16.
You have
16 squares.
This is what we do with our days during the pandemic.
I know, right? During COVID.
So I posted a comment on Instagram, I think, or on Facebook, of what my What 3 Words were, and I got like 3 replies from people that knew what it was. I was highly disappointed. So you could say, "What are your 3 words?" My What 3 Words are this, and everyone's like, "What is he talking about?" He's completely lost it. At this point in it.
And eventually, if you ask enough, I could come up with 3 words you probably won't like.
Right, I know. Mine are kind of boring too, so yeah.
What's yours, Jen? Give everybody your home address.
No, I already did that once. He told me on the air. You do realize you told everybody where you live, and I'm like,
I did say I was kind of sneaky with What 3 Words for me, and when I gave it out on the air, because I actually give out an address which is just slightly across the street. So I was thinking I could see a conglomeration of listeners approaching these What 3 Words and going, "Is this where he lives? Is this where he lives?"
You can just give out the What 3 Words for Wrigley Field like they did in Blues Brothers.
Yeah, see?
There you go.
See the address? Perry, you're thinking for all of us right there. Starting price and availability of the GLA.
So GLA is on sale now, I believe. At least the GLA 250. The AMG versions, which will be cool, are coming a little bit later this year. And I believe that the starting price on this is about $36,000.
Yeah, I think it's
so
up a little bit.
So you can get into a Mercedes crossover for $36,000.
I know, brand new, by the way, brand new. And I like the fact that it does come with the 4MATIC as well, which is always great. Perry, it's always great to have you on the show. The new GLA Perry has been driving. You can read about that and many other things on our website at ourautoexpert.com, or read some of Perry's reviews on MSN Autos. he has plenty to share with the world and some very good stuff as well. We'll have more of our show next time. You can listen to previous episodes of the show at ourautoexpert.com. There are all the shows that we have recorded in a podcast version. You can download it to your Apple Podcasts or your Spotify or whatever you should enjoy. Plus watch some of our TV videos, and of course you can see some of our social media posts and contact us through the website. More to come next time on Our Auto Expert. I'm Nick Miles.
You've been listening to Our Auto Expert with Nick Miles. Find all the show episodes at ourautoexpert.com. Please follow us on all social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Our Auto Expert, and message us for a quick and witty response.